Alright, hey everybody, it's been a while since I've uploaded anything on this channel. Been kind of getting more into retro gaming and stuff like that. If you're interested, you can go and check out my other channel, that is Tunatron 3000. But anyway, today I want to talk about something that's kind of taken over my life. Well, not life, that's going a bit far, but taken over my guitar playing life, we'll say, for the past, I don't know, year or two, maybe longer, I don't know, I've lost track of time. And that is guitar picks. Now, I've been through many guitar picks. I've got a little collection going on here of my guitar pick singles that I've had from, well, for a long time. I've also got this little pick collection here, full of picks that I might use, that, I don't know, they're ready to be used at some point. These are like pretty much fresh picks. So what I want to talk about today is my journey with guitar picks, where I started and where I'm at now. So I started playing guitar when I was about, I don't know, was I 14 or something like that? And, you know, at that point you just pick whichever pick is available. So I don't have much memory of that. I do remember my uncle having like Fender-style tortoiseshell picks, really thin ones, and he also used to have nylon picks as well. Again, really thin. But thinking back, this is probably the first pick that I ever actively looked for whenever I went into a guitar shop. And this is a Dunlop Delrin 500 pick. 0.96 millimeters in pink. I've not really used this for a long time. I bought one of these recently just to kind of have it in my collection because it's kind of a part of my guitar playing history. So this is obviously made out of Delrin. Me and my friend, when we were learning guitar and playing in a band together, we both kind of had this daft competition, you know, who could use a thicker pick, who could use thicker guitar strings. So I was getting up into 0.96 and beyond, playing D'Addario 10 gauge, where I started out with 9 gauge strings, which I've now gone back to. In fact, for the past 5-6 years I've been using 9s, and I wouldn't ever go back to 10s again. It's so much easier to play, and it sounds a little bit better as well. But yeah, so this is one that I used for quite a long time in terms of this style of pick anyway, but coming back to it these days, not a big fan. Now, one of the other things that I did when I used to play guitar was, I was a big Nirvana fan, so I used to snap strings all the time because I used to absolutely destroy the guitar strings. I didn't use my wrist when I was playing. I am right-handed, it's just that my camera's in an awkward position. So now, you know, I play like that and everything is pretty much in the wrist. But back in the day, it was, everything was in the elbow. So that's kind of the first pick that I remember using. Going back to why I don't use it anymore, it's just a little bit slippy. Now, apparently if you moisten your fingers a little bit, it can help you grip it a bit more. Or you can do what I used to do and take a knife or something and carve some X's in there to try and help. But, you know, I want to be able to buy a pick and just be able to use it. But I would highly recommend giving these a go. They sound a little bit smoother, and that's because I think they've got a smooth texture. You can see it's got quite a bevel on it. Well, not a bevel, I don't know. Kind of a bevel, whatever. So that is the first pick that I remember having. And then I think I went through a little bit of a Tortex phase. So I think at one point I had one of these, the old Dunlop Tortex greens, 0.88 mils, a classic pick. Sounds great. Very grippy for me, at least for my kind of skin texture, I guess. stays in the hand really, really well. And the only downside that I found is that they can sometimes be bent when you get them out of the packaging, and they may develop a bit of a curve over time. But other than that, great picks. Solid all-rounder. Then again, going back to the little competition that we had, who could use a thicker pick, I did end up going to the Dunlop Blues, which is 1mm thick. You can actually see. Well, can you really see? I don't know. What does it matter? But this was a very useful pick, and I used this for quite a long time. Not really much else to say about it. It's got all of the qualities of the Dunlop Green, but it's a bit thicker, so depending on how you hold your pick, this might actually give you a little bit more control. However, the way that you hold a pick is something that I learned a lot about, and I'm still learning about. In fact, I totally changed the way that I grip or hold my pick in the past year. So I used to play with my hand like that. These fingers just sprawled out because I used to think, oh, well, if I want to strum any strings, my fingers are all there ready to go. And then I started looking at some of my favourite guitarists, and I noticed that most of them actually wrap their fingers inwards and play like that, and with a very small amount of the pick showing. You know, they can maneuver the pick in their hands to, you know, when you're strumming, so you can have more of the pick on show, but then you can pull the pick back in, just depending on how you grip it. And doing this, having this approach, made me play so much more accurately. So if you're one of these, and you feel like you've kind of hit the wall with your playing, try the whole fist your way to victory. But anyway, so yeah, used that for quite a while. Then I started looking at, you know, what do some of my guitar idols use? At the time, when I found this pick, I was very much into Opeth. So I wanted to check out what Mikael Åkerfeldt, I believe is how you pronounce his name, or Michael Åkerfeldt if you're just from the north of England like me. And I went on the Opeth forums, which I think are now closed. And they said, oh, he uses a Jazz 3 pick. And I said, what the hell's a Jazz 3? Why would a metal band be using a jazz pick? But I thought, well, hey, if it helps me learn how to play Opeth songs, I'll order some. So I didn't realize there's actually two colors. And there is allegedly a difference. You can get black and red. So these guys turned up. So I started off with the black ones because I was like, well, it's black metal, kinda, or death metal. So why not use a black pick? And this was very strange for me to use at first. You know, if you just look at the size comparison, so this is where I started, and then I tried this thing out. Heck, quite the size difference. I'm just gonna raise my light a little bit. So it took a while, but I got used to these, and again, I was playing like that at the time, so I didn't improve as much as maybe I hoped I would. But these were fine little picks, and I used them for a while, and then I ended up getting the red Jazz 3 as well. These things are really good. They do wear down semi-quickly. You can kind of see a little bit of wear, and I've not really used this an awful lot, and I don't think I've used this one an awful lot either. The other thing is they can have quite a dull sound. It's good if you want a nice smooth lead tone. But if you're like me and just think one pick forever, then this isn't ideal for playing acoustic guitar. And for me, acoustic guitar was a big thing, especially when I was in my late teens, early 20s. But regardless, I kept using it, but I kept disliking how small it was. So then I figured out you could get these bad boys. This is the Jim Dunlop Jazz 3 XL. And just so you can see the size comparison, it's, you know, considerably bigger. And if you put it next to this thing, it's kind of pretty much well, no, not a perfect halfway point, but it gives you that jazz feel, but a bit more of a regular, is it 3-5-1 this one? A regular pick shape anyway. So I use this quite a lot. And it's still nice, it's thick, I think 1.4 millimeters? Something like that. But again, I used it for playing guitar, and actually acoustic guitar. And this used to be on a lot of my recordings. And if you thought that my guitar tone sounded a little bit dull, well, this is why I was using one of these. But I kind of liked how percussive it made my guitar sound, my acoustic guitar. Now, people say, you know, well, use a nice thin pick and you get a percussive sound. But I didn't like that, what do you call it, like a clicky-clacky sort of sound. I like the thud of this pick. But unfortunately, that doesn't sit too well in a band mix. So yeah, I used this for a while. Then when I wanted more of a brighter tone, I then moved on to this one, which is the same size pick, but it's the Ultex version. So this is a bit more hard wearing, and it looks like a toenail, like a dirty, rotten toenail. That's what I always think when I see it anyway. But it looks cool. Only problem is, once you drop this, just say goodbye to it, because you're not going to find this if you're on stage. So this gives you more of a high end. I think I used this for quite a while, but then I got a little bit bored. I'm somebody who doesn't really enjoy the status quo. I like things to change, because I feel like if you change things, your perspective changes as well. Then I started looking at what other people use. What are some recommended picks? What are some picks that are going to last a while? What are expensive picks? So I then started hearing about gravity picks. So I ordered one. Well, I ordered several. This is one of them. This is the Gravity Sunrise. I think it's the 2mm standard, and it has some lovely little grip holes here. This feels good. Helps you grip. These are made out of acrylic, I think. And acrylic is quite a grippy material anyway. And the grip holes help your grip even further. So this feels all right. You could use it in different ways. You can use different sides of it. But I did start to get a little bit disappointed when it started to wear down a little bit. You can see there. I'm not really sure how much it was actually wearing down, but I think I paid £3 for this son of a bitch. And I was a bit disappointed. So I stopped using it. But in that order, I also got one of these, which is essentially Gravity's version of the... Nice one. Gravity's version of the Jazz 3. As you can see here, pretty much the same size. And yeah, it's okay. But if your hands are a little bit greasy, I'm not saying sweaty, but greasy. Say, you know, it's a hot day, you rub your face, you got a little bit of oil on your face. Natural oils, you know, oil's good. And then you grab this thing is going to start slipping. I'm going to bring this one over. I also got, in the same order, one of these. And this is a Gravity Stealth Standard. So it's the same thing, same material as the Sunrise pick, but it's a triangular shape. And this is basically my first introduction to triangular picks. Didn't really use it because this felt a little bit too sharp for me, to the point that I was worried that it might break the strings if I were to pick too hard. And I'm not really a hard picker, but I didn't like it. It turns out they've got a pick called a striker, I think that's the name of it, or something similar to that, where the pick edges are a little bit more rounded. So yeah, didn't really use that, but they're pretty cool. So after that, I started just looking for anything that I could use as a pick, what's going to save me money. And I decided that, hey, why don't I try making my own picks? So I didn't buy a pick punch for this. This is handmade. So essentially I had an old bank card that I wasn't using anymore, so I put a pick on top of it, traced around it, cut it out, and then sanded it down, and you know what, it's all not actually too bad. But it is just plastic, so this thing is going to wear down really quickly. So I've just kept this as more of a, hey, remember when I was adventurous? Then, I can't even remember how I got onto this, but I started hearing about triangular picks. I can't remember who it was. Oh, I know. It was Frank Gambale, who is the guitarist from Chick Corea Electric Band, as well as many other things. And I thought, hey, Frank uses a triangular pick? I'm going to look into triangular picks. So I ended up getting one of these. So this is exactly the same as the Dunlop Tortex, but in a triangular shape. Now, I am a cheap bastard. So what I really liked about this, like these picks, is you have 3 picks in one. So you playing with this pick and you start wearing it down a bit. What do? Well, you just go, fwing, turn it round. You got a new pick. Wear this one down, fwing, new pick. But there was something that I didn't like about the shape of this. I'm not sure what it was. So I ended up looking around for some other kinds of picks. And I got a D'Addario set of medium to heavy picks. And I finally got this thing. So this is the D'Addario Duralin pick. Now, Frank Gambale says he actually uses the celluloid versions of these in this shape. And I really like this. Now, this has a slightly sharper, it's hard to explain. It's sharper, but slightly more rounded as well, in comparison. You see? And I found this shape really swept over the strings really nice and easily, and it was nice for playing strumming chords as well. But you can very quickly switch over, and you got the same 3 tips in one. The other thing I really like about this, you just saw me do it, is you're playing, quickly, you can palm and then start finger picking. It's a perfect size. Whereas with a regular pick, if I were to do the same sort of thing, because it's an uneven shape, I mean, it happened perfectly there, but look, if I kind of squeeze that a bit, the pick just starts flopping all over the show. So this was my big introduction to triangular picks, and I really like them. And guess what? I still use them. Still use this pick to this day. So if you're ever on the fence about trying triangular picks, give one of these a go. They are super cheap. They do have the same caveats as the Tortex picks, so you might find that these are bent or have a slight curve to them. All you need to do is just bend them in the opposite direction and you're fine. But I was interested in these. Things got interesting at this point. Just as an aside, in that same pack, I got this, which is the D'Addario version of Tortex. It's 0.85 rather than 0.88. Now, I'm not sure what 0.03 of a millimeter difference is going to make, but if you're interested, if these are cheaper in your area, they're just as good as the Tortex. They seem to wear at the same rate, and again, they have the exact same downsides and upsides. Very grippy, bit bendy, feel good though. And while we're here, I also got one of these, I think in the same pack. And this is the Nile Pro. Again, D'Addario. This is kind of like their version of a Jazz 3. It's in between a Jazz 3 and a Jazz 3 XL in terms of size. But it's quite grippy. And you know what? If I was still into using Jazz 3s, I would probably be using this now because they feel a little bit stiffer. I really like the grip. I think these are mixed with fiberglass as well, which may improve your tone, who knows. But it feels good. And they're cheap, most importantly for me. So then I started looking at, hey, what do other guitarists use again? Because I thought, well, I don't want to settle on anything just yet. So one of my favourite guitarists is Scott Henderson, who was the guitarist for the Chick Corea Electric Band before Frank Gambale. He went on and joined Tribal Tech with Gary Willis. Well, they founded Tribal Tech together, and I really, really like Scott Henderson's tone. So I checked out a video of his, and he said that he uses Fender Heavies, which is a pretty common guitar pick. So these are a celluloid guitar pick. Now Scott says he uses this part of the guitar pick rather than the pointy side. There is actually quite a sonic difference between them. I can't get away with playing like this. Sometimes I do, but for the most part I will just use this side. Now I do like the way that this sounds, especially on something like a Gibson SG. I say Gibson SG, like I'm rich. I've got an Epiphone SG, or any kind of humbuckers. It's got just enough clack to cut through. And I do quite like pick chirp. It depends if that's what you're into. If you don't like it, stay away from these. But again, a little bit like the Dunlop Delrin 500, the downside is, well, the downsides are, if you want to be grammatically correct, this can get slippy if your hands get a little bit moist or greasy or both. The other thing is they wear down very quickly. You'll feel like you're playing fine and you're having a great time, and then from nowhere you'll start to feel it wear. And then before long, you can't really play properly with it. The good thing is though, if you set one of these on fire, you're in for a good time. Do it safely, but give it a go if you can. Then I got this. Still interested in the Fender Heavy celluloid style, but then I tried it in the 3-4-6 shape, this rounded triangle style. And this is great. You've got more surface area, so it does help with grip. And I really like the way that this sounds on an acoustic guitar. This one has been pretty well used as well. I'm seeing if I can show you the wear there. You can kind of see it. But if you're interested, give one of these a go. They're pretty cool. I also tried out the Ultex version, because why not? Interestingly enough, despite the fact that these are both made by Dunlop, they're quite a different shape. So you can't, if you like this style, you can't get the Ultex in this style. If I put them together, they look like they line up, but they're definitely different. You probably can't even see that. But just trust me, I wouldn't lie to you. But the Ultex sounds really nice. It's more hard-wearing than the Tortex, much brighter, but you have that issue of if you drop it, say goodbye to it. And these, they're not expensive, but they're not the cheapest picks that you can buy. So just be aware of that. In terms of what other guitarists used, we went back full circle to acrylic style picks. This is the Jim Dunlop Gels in heavy. Now, I was looking into Jake E. Lee, who was Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist for Bark at the Moon. I thought, hell, it looks cool, give it a try. And this is actually a really nice pick. It's got a really good sound to it, but I mean, I don't need to say it. It can get slippy. It can wear down kind of quickly. So if you were to get these, I'd probably recommend cutting some grips into it. Otherwise, it's alright. I'd recommend these. If you like a bright sound. Then, kind of to top this off, I guess, we have this. This is the Dunlop Prime Tone 1.4 large triangle pick. It's not the small triangle anyway. I don't know if it's small and large or just small and regular. But this is Prime Tone. So these are hand beveled. You can see they've got a speed bevel on the edge of it. But these are really nice. Only downside for me is that they are expensive. It was like £9 for a pack of 3. So this pick here costs £3. So if you lose it, that's £3 down the toilet. But it does sound really nice. It's got this grip to it. So you don't have any issues keeping hold of it. You can do the whole palming it, and let's get the right hand. You can palm it pretty easily between your fingers and use a good amount of your fingers. And it's got a bright sound, but not as bright as, say, this Ultex, and it's hard wearing. So despite the cost, they do last long, so long as you don't lose it. But it's dark and it's see-through, so if you drop this on stage, I think it's gone forever. So in terms of what I'm using at the moment, it's kind of a mixture. But I keep coming back to these two picks. Both 0.88 mils. It took a little while to get adjusted to a pick this thin again, but that's just because I think I just had a bad habit in the way that I was holding picks, because now I've adjusted, I can go between all of these picks pretty easily. But yeah, this is what I would recommend. Just because this pick is triangular, and a lot of bassists use triangular picks, doesn't mean it's for bass. This actually gives me better control than the Jazz 3. No joke. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Something a little bit different. If you found this interesting, let me know. Let me know what your favourite picks are. If you've found any weird picks on your travels, what you like to use, let me know down below. But that's it. Until next time, take care and good